Hello my dear students. In the previous lecture of graph theory, we discussed about Euler's path, Euler's circuit and Euler's graph. Similarly, Hamiltonian path, Hamiltonian circuit and Hamiltonian graph. We completed that and we discussed the differences between Euler's graph and Hamiltonian graph. Now coming to this particular lecture, in this lecture we are going to discuss about isomorphic graphs, one of the important type of the graphs, and then we will discuss Euler's theorem, or also called it as Euler's formula, and then we will discuss what do you mean by a spanning tree, what is a minimum spanning tree, how to determine a minimum spanning tree for a given spanning tree, and what type of algorithms we are going to use to determine the minimum spanning tree. These are the topics which we are going to discuss in this particular lecture. So let us start our lecture with what? Isomorphic graphs. So we discussed already different types of the graphs in our previous lectures. So now let us come to the case of what is isomorphic graphs. What is the definition? An isomorphic graph or isomorphism is a phenomenon of what? Existing the same graph in more than one forms. The meaning of the phenomenon of isomorphism is what? Isomorphism is what? Existing the same graph in more than one forms. If the graph existing in more than one forms and both are having satisfying some set of conditions, then those two graphs or three graphs, whatever the graphs we are going to take, are called isomorphic graphs. So let me give you one example. These are the, see, this is the one graph and this is the another graph, and these two graphs are called isomorphic graphs. How do we say simply these two are called isomorphic graphs? By looking these two graphs, we cannot say. These two graphs has to satisfy some set of conditions. Those conditions are called necessary and sufficient conditions for identifying whether the graphs are isomorphic or not. So this is a basic definition of isomorphism. Now let us try to understand or how to determine whether the two graphs are isomorphic. So two graphs are said to be isomorphic. They must satisfy the following four conditions. So what are the four conditions here? The first condition is number of vertices in both the graphs must be same. So both graphs should have same number of vertices. If the first graph contain 5 number of vertices, the second graph also contain what? 5 vertices only. Second one, number of edges in both the graphs must be same. Not only the vertices, the edges of the two graphs must also be same. This degree sequence of both the graphs must be same. So degree sequence of both the graphs, what do you mean by degree sequence here? That means the way you are going to take the order of the vertices of the first graph and the second graph, we will discuss how we are going to take the order. So once you are going to take them in a particular order, suppose the first graph, in the first graph there are 4 vertices, let us V1, V2, V3 and V4. In the second graph, I have taken in the same order like V1 dash, V2 dash, V3 dash and V4 dash. This is what some particular sequence for the first graph and the second graph. Now what you need to do, you need to obtain the degree of each and every vertex in that particular order of the first graph. In the similar way you can do it for second graph. So that degree of sequence must be same for both the graphs. This is the third condition. And if a cycle of length k is formed by the vertices in one graph like V1, V2, V3 and so on Vk, by using V1, V2, V3, V4 and so on Vk, if the first graph has formed a particular cycle, which we discussed already, what is the meaning of a cycle? In the similar way, whatever the order we are going to take in the second graph, like here it is mentioned f of v1, f of v2 and so on, f of vk, or v1 dash, v2 dash and so on, vk dash, must also be have the cycle. Then only these graphs are said to be what? Isomorphic. And these conditions are only the necessary conditions, which means that even though all the 4 conditions will be satisfied for the given 2 or 3 or 4, whatever be the number of graphs, they may be isomorphic. You cannot surely say that they are isomorphic. But if any one condition violates from the given set of 4 conditions, then then we can say that the graphs are not isomorphic. This is very, very important. If all the 4 conditions are satisfying, then you cannot surely say that they are isomorphic. But if any condition violates, then you can say that these graphs are not isomorphic. So with these 4 conditions, the graphs must satisfy at least one sufficient condition, then only you can surely say that these graphs are isomorphic. So what are those sufficient conditions? These are only the necessary conditions. So let us go through the sufficient conditions. What are the sufficient conditions? If any one of these conditions satisfy, then it can be said that the graphs are surely isomorphic. What is the first condition? 2 graphs are isomorphic if and only if their complement graphs are isomorphic. That means the first graph you can take and the second graph you can take. And these 2 graphs are said to be isomorphic. It has to satisfy the necessary conditions first, and then one of the sufficient condition. At least one of the sufficient condition is enough. No need all the conditions. The first condition is you have to take the complement of the given graph. So what do you mean by a complement of a graph? So whenever you take a graph like this, suppose I am taking a graph like this with 4 vertices. This is the first vertex, this is the vertex v1, assume that, and this is the vertex v2, and then you have to take a vertex v3 here, and then you have to take a vertex v4 here, and I have connected all the vertices like this. So this is a given graph, assume that. How do I find a complement of this graph? So to know the complement of the graph, so what you need to do here, you have to take a graph like this, you have to take a graph v1, v2, suppose I have taken v3 and then v4. I have taken a graph like this. I want to find the complement of this particular graph. How do I find the complement of this particular graph? So to get the complement of the graph, generally the definition of the complement of the graph is we are going to denote GC, or somewhere you can G complement is equal to. Generally in the complement of the graph are also what happened, the same number of vertices must be there, but we are going to take the complement on edges, not on the vertices. Remember that. So complement of the graph is nothing but G complete graph. G must be a complete graph and minus the given original graph. Whatever the graph will be given, you have to take. See here it is a graph G, and to get the complement of this particular graph, what we need to do, you have to take first the complete graph of the given graph. What do you mean by the complete graph? All the vertices must be connected with all other vertices in the given graph. That means v1 must be connected with all the vertices, v2 must be connected with v1, v3, v4, and similarly other vertices also must be connected with what? The other 2 vertices, like this. So first you have to take the complement of the graph, complete of the complete graph. How do we take the complete graph here? So to get the complete graph, what we need to do, you have to take the vertices. Do not change the vertices. As I said, you have to take the same vertices like this, v4 and this is v3. So to get the complete graph, initially the graph is given like this. This is the graph which is given to us. To get the complete graph, V1 is connected with V2, it is not connected with V3 and V4, therefore first you can connect with V3 and V4. Similarly, how to check V2? V2 connected with V1, V4 and V3. Similarly, V4 connected with V2, V4 connected with V1, but it is not connected with V3, so you can take it is V3 like this. Similarly, you can check it for V3. Now, one vertex is connected with all other vertices in the given graph, therefore it is called a complete graph. So you have to take the complete graph and then you have to remove the original graph from this particular complement from the complete graph. How do we remove? We try to remove the edges which are present here in the original graph, those edges will be removed in the complement of the graph. So which edge will be presented here? V1, V2 will be presented, so remove this edge. And then V2, V4 is presented, so you have to take, and V2, V3 is also presented, so remove this edge. Then what we can get? We'll get what? A graph like this, this is the vertex and this is the another vertex, this is the vertex and this is the vertex. By removing those edges, what we can get? We will get the remaining edges will be like this. So this graph is called the complement of the graph. This is called the G complement, we can say that. It is called a G complement and this is the complete graph. So the complement of the graph can be obtained by subtracting. What you need to do? You have to take the complete graph of the given graph. From there you subtract the edges of the original graph and take the remaining connected edges of the vertices like this. Then you will get a complement of a graph. So this is, and one more important thing, if you take the original graph G and union what? G complement, it will give you the complete graph G complete. This is, that means if you take this plus this, if you add these two graphs, then finally you are going to get this graph. And this complement of a graph also called as inverse of a graph. So this is how we find the complement of the graph. So here the condition is that you have to take the complement of the two graphs and check whether they are isomorphic or not. Otherwise, the second condition, it is very easy. You have to take their what? Adjacency matrices, and we discussed about how to represent a given graph in the form of adjacency matrix. Take the adjacency matrices of the two graphs. If both are having same, then we can say that they are what? Isomorphic. And two graphs are isomorphic if their corresponding subgraphs obtained by deleting some vertices of one graph and their corresponding images in the other graph are isomorphic. We discussed about what? Subgraphs also. This is based on the subgraphs. If their corresponding subgraphs obtained by deleting some of the vertices on the graph. So subgraph is a graph. What? The vertices of the subgraph should be subset of the main graph and the edges of the graph should be also subset of the main graph. And whatever the edges connected between the vertices in the subgraph also, they must be connected. This is what we have defined already in the subgraphs. So that property has to satisfy here. The subgraphs of the both graphs should be same. Then only we can say that it is isomorphic. So the previously four conditions are the necessary conditions, and these three conditions are called the sufficient conditions. So even though all the necessary conditions are satisfying, surely we cannot say that it is a isomorphic. But if any one of the condition violates in the necessary condition, we can clearly say that those graphs are not isomorphic. But if all the four conditions are satisfying in the necessary condition, then you have to check one of the condition of these three conditions and check that whether it is satisfying or not. If they are satisfying, then we can say that they are what? Isomorphic. This is how we can check the given graphs are isomorphic. Now let us check one graph, this is, and we'll check that whether these two graphs are isomorphic graphs or not. How do we check these two graphs are isomorphic? So first condition is what? You need to check the vertices. So let us denote the vertices. So here this is the vertex V1 and vertex V2. I'm going to take like this. This is the vertex V3 and this is vertex V4. These are the four vertices. Here also V1 dash I'm going to take, and this is V2 dash, V3 dash and V4 dash. So the first one, the number of vertices of graph G1, you have to take graph G1, vertices of the graph G1. What are the number of vertices? 4. Similarly, how to take it for graph 2? It is 4. So therefore the first necessary condition has satisfied. Now let us come to the case of edges. So what do you mean by edges? E1. So for graph G1, you have to take graph G1. How many number of edges are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 4 plus 2, 6 edges are there. Similarly for graph G2, how many number of edges are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 4 plus 2, 6. So totally 6 edges are there. Therefore, the second condition also satisfying. So these are the first two conditions are satisfied. Now coming to the third condition. What is the third condition here? What is the third condition? Degree of sequence. So V1 you have to take V2 and then V3, V4. Similarly V1 dash, V2 dash, V3 dash, V4 dash. So you have to take in the third condition for the first graph G1 you have to take like this. I am taking G1, this is, and this is G2, here the vertex, here the degree, here the vertex and here the degree. So degree sequence means what here? Suppose what is the first vertex here? V1. What is the degree of the first vertex? It is connecting with, it is having two adjacent vertices, so V1 equal to 2. Similarly V2 is equal to what? It is connected with V1, V2 and also it is there. So two adjacent vertices are there, so it is also equal to 2. Similarly V3 is equal to how many number of edges are vertices are there? It is equal to what? C. It is 2. Similarly V4, how many number of edges are there? For V4 it is also connected with what? 2. So like this we are going to take the edges. Now similarly we have to take it for what? See V2 and V3 and V4, if you take V2, how many number of edges are there here? The edges are, this is the one edge and this is the another edge is going, this also another edge is going, so you have to take it as 3. For V3 also you have to take it as 3. So you have to take the degree sequence in the form of like this, 2, 2, in the ascending order like this you have to take the degree sequence. That means here V1 dash is equal to, that means this is V1 and then this is V4. V4 is also equal to, you will get what? 3 only. So 2, 3, 3 like this you are going to get V1, V2, V3 and then you will get what? V4 here. In the similar way here you can take V1 dash is equal to what? 3 and V2 dash is equal to what? How many you will get? 1, 2, 3 you will get, and V3 dash is equal to how many you will get? What is the degree of that vertex? V3 dash is equal to 3 and V4 dash is equal to, what is the V4 dash here? It consists of only degree 2. It indicates that what 2, 3, 3, 3. That means V4 dash here we are going to take, and then we can go with what? V1 dash, this is, so the first vertex here if you observe that V1 has the degree 2 and V4 is the degree 2. So the first vertex whatever we are taking in the graphs G1, that vertex is equal to V4 dash in the graphs G2. This is what? Like that you have to take. Similarly this is V2 dash, and because all other vertices are having the same, so therefore same degree, therefore I am going to take. That means in the first graph V1 is equal to here V4 dash. The second, similarly V2 is equal to, you can take V2 dash only. V3 is equal to what? V3 dash only. But V4 is equal to here it is V1 dash. So the degree of the sequence must also be same. Therefore the third condition also same. When the degree of the sequence must be same, if you take the vertices are like this, suppose. If you take the vertices are like this. Otherwise if you take the vertices V1, V2, V3, V4, then the sequence is 2, 3, 3. Here the sequence is 3, 3, 3, 2. Therefore in that case what will happen? The degree of the vertices are not same. In that case they are not isomorphic. So like this we'll check the given two graphs are whether isomorphic or not. Now coming to the case of the next one. What is this one here? You need to check the first one, how many number of vertices are there in graph G1. So again we have to check the number of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 vertices for graph G1. Similarly for graph G2 also 8 vertices. First condition satisfies. So this is with respect to the vertices, and number of edges 1, 4 plus 4, 8 plus 2, 10 edges are there. Similarly for Z2 also 10 edges are there. Therefore it is also satisfying the second condition. And what about the third condition now? So third condition is degree sequence. You have to find the third. See, this is the V1, V2, you can take V3, V4, V5, V6, V7, V8. So what is the degree sequence here? It consists of 3, here it consists of 2, here it consists of 3, here it consists of 2, here this particular vertex consists of 3, and this particular vertex consists of 2, this is the vertex which consists of 3 again, and this is 2. So what is the degree of the sequence you can take? So you start from the what? 2 comma 2 comma 2 comma, or otherwise you can take like this 3 2 3 2 3 2 3 2. This is the degree sequence V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6, V7 and V8. In the similar way you have to take it for what? The next graph. This is for G1 graph. Similarly how to go with what? G2 graph. What you can get here? So it is having a degree 3, and then what? The next one is having a degree what? V1, V2 dash is having a degree 3, and then 2, this degree is 2, 3 here, 3 here, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3. So 3, 3, 2, comma 2, and then 3 comma 3 comma 2 comma 2, like this. Therefore the degree sequence is not same, therefore these graphs are not isomorphic. Like this we are going to check. Now this is the another graph which is given to you. You just go through this. It is very simple graph, and these graphs are isomorphic or not. How do we check? Again, to check that number of vertices 4, here number of vertices are 4, first condition satisfies. Second condition is number of edges are 5, here also number of edges 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So totally 5 edges are there. Second condition satisfying. Third condition you have to take the degree. Here it is 3, sorry, here it is 2, here it is 2, here it is 3. Similarly here it is 3, here it is 3, here it is 2, and here it is 2. Like this you have to take. So the degree sequence, that means here V1, V2, V3, if you take like this V4. So in this V1, here this is V1 dash because it is having the degree 2 here. Similarly, sorry, V1 is equal to 3, so you have to take this is V1 dash, and V2 is given that here degree 2, so you have to take it is V2 dash because this vertex is having a degree 2, and V4 is having a degree 2, therefore you can take it is V4 dash here, and similarly V3 is having a degree 3, therefore you can take V3 dash here. Like this you have to take the graph. So for the first graph, the sequence if you take from increasing order, if you can take V2, V4, and then you can take V1, V3. So you have to take 2, 2, 3, 3. This is. Similarly for the second graph, if you take, what we will get? The degree sequence. So here it is V4 dash. That means this vertex is equivalent to here in this particular graph, this vertex. That means, and this particular vertex is equivalent to, we have taken there V3 dash, that is the graph. So therefore like that you can take V4 dash, this is what, and then V2 dash you will get, and then what, you can take V1 dash because it is having degree 3, and then what, V3 dash. So you will get 2, 2, 3, 3, like this you are going to get. So both that degree sequence, if you take like this, both the graphs are having the same degree sequence, but this vertex is equivalent to this vertex here, and this vertex is equivalent to this vertex, and this vertex is equivalent to this vertex, and this vertex is equivalent to this vertex in the given graph V2. So this is what the isomorphism, even though they are in different forms, but we will get like this. So V2 is equivalent to V4 dash, V4 is equivalent to V2 dash, like that you have to take. So the third condition has also satisfied. Now coming to the fourth condition, what is the fourth condition? Fourth condition here it is that, so they should form a cycle. Form a cycle of what? Suppose if you take V1, V2, V3, you can take the third degree vertices, 3 here, this is a 3, here it is 3, here it is 3. So these are the third degree vertices in what? V1 and V first graph. Similarly, how to take the third degree vertices in what? G2 graph. What you can get now? You have to get third degree with respect to the third degree vertices. It forms a cycle or not? Yes, it forms a cycle. Similarly, V3, whether it is forming a cycle or not? Yes, it is forming a cycle like this with respect to third degree vertices, or otherwise you can take like this also you have to take. So therefore it is forming a cycle. Similarly, with respect to the third degree vertices, whether it is forming a cycle or not? Yes, it is. This will form a cycle like this, and this is also forming a cycle with third degree vertices. So all the four conditions are satisfying. Therefore this graph is what? Surely may be isomorphic. They may be isomorphic, but you cannot say that whether they are isomorphic or not exactly. So to know that whether they are isomorphic or not, what you need to do, you have to go for the sufficient condition. So you have to take the adjacency matrix representation for this: V1, V2, V3, V4, similarly V1, V2, or otherwise V3, V4. So otherwise you have to take the complement of this particular graph. What is the complement? G1 complement is equal to, so complement means it is not a complete graph. See, V1 is connected with V4, V1 is, but V2 is connected with it is not connected with V3. So you have to take the graph like this. So what is the complement of this graph? Because V2 is not connected with V3, so you will get a complement like this. Similarly, you have to check with V4. V4 is connected with V1, V4 is connected with V2, V4 is connected with V3. So it is connected. Similarly, V3 is connected with what? V1, V3 connected with V4, but V3 does not connect with V2. So here it is connected. So for the first graph, this is the complement. And coming to the second graph, let us take G2 complement. So here G2 complement means V1 is connected with all other vertices. Similarly, V2 is connected with all other vertices, but V4 is not connected with V3. So here you will take like this. So here this is V1, V2, I am taking V3, V4. So here it is what? V4. But as we have seen in the degree of the sequence, this is what the G2 complement. But here it is given that in the previous case, while we are taking the degree of the sequence, what will happen there? V1 is having a degree 3 and V2 is having a degree 2, V3 is having a degree 2, similarly V4 is having a degree 3. And here it is having degree 3, here it is having degree 3, here it is having degree 2, here it is having degree 2. So V1 is equal to what we have taken here, V1. So V1 is V1 dash. Now let us take here it is V1 dash, V2 dash, V3 dash and V4 dash. V1 is equal to V1 dash and V2. What is V2 degree here? 2, but V2 dash degree is 3. So these two vertices are not same, but they are given like that. You cannot think that here V2 is equal to V2 dash, because you can take V2 with what? Either V3, or you can take V2 with what? V4, but you need to check how they are connected each other. So now similarly how to take V3? V3 is equal to 2 and V4 is equal to 3. So V4 is equal to what we can take here? So V4 dash is equal to, let us take this is V2 dash. Like this you have to take, because V4 degree is 3 here, V2 dash degree is also is equal to 3 here. So you have to take like this. And this is what you have to take, because here V1 dash is connected with V4 and also connected with V3. So you have to take it is V4 dash and then you have to take it what? V3 dash. Like this you have to take. So observe that here V2, V3, the degree of this is 2 and here the degree of this is also 2. Here the degree of is equal to 2, and here this is the degree of 2. Both are connected here. Here also both are connected. Therefore, these two graphs are isomorphic graphs. This is how you have to check the two graphs are isomorphic. The first we have checked whether the necessary conditions are satisfying or not, and then we have checked the first condition, that is the complement of the first graph is we are going to take like this, because V2 and V3 are not connected, rest of all are connected, therefore we have to take the complement of the graph like this. Similarly, we have to take the complement of the second graph like this. This is the complement of the second graph, so we have taken. But how you are going to take the vertices order? You should take the vertices order in the form of what? Whatever we have taken degree sequence. So V1 and V2, V1 is having degree 3, V4 is having degree 3. So whatever the vertices having degree 3 in the graph G2, those vertices are equivalent to what? The vertices having degree 3 in graph G1. So V1 is equivalent to V1 dash, but V2 is having degree what? 4. So V4 is having what? Degree. So therefore here, even though it is V2 here, but we cannot take, we are going to take like this V4 dash. And then we'll get an edge like this. So both the graphs are now same, therefore this graph is a isomorphic graph. And this is how we can define the isomorphic graphs, which I have given few examples how to check whether the two graphs are isomorphic or not. Now coming to the another important topic of this graph theory is Euler's formula, or we can call it as Euler's theorem. So what this theorem tells us that let G be a connected and not necessarily simple plane graph with n vertices, e edges and f faces. Then what happened? This is very important formula, very important formula. V plus f is equal to e plus 2, or we can write v minus e plus f is equal to 2. Like this also we can write, or another way we can write f is equal to 2 minus v plus e. These are the different ways we can write the Euler's formula. What do you mean by v? V indicates the number of vertices of the graphs, number of vertices. Here v indicates the number of vertices and e indicates the number of faces, and f indicates, e indicates number of edges, F indicates number of faces or number of regions, anyway we can call it as. This is how we can take the number of, so the sum of the vertices and the faces is equal to what? It is equal to the sum of what? So it is equal to sum of edges plus 2. So this is how we can take, or we can write the formula like this also, or to get the faces, if you, it is no, we need number of edges. If you need number of edges, if you have number of edges and number of vertices, by which we can calculate number of faces. So what do you mean by this? So what is the meaning of this? Let us try to understand. See, here it is given a graph like this. So let us check whether the Euler's formula will be verified for this. So to verify the Euler's formula for the given graph, what you need to do? You need to take what? Number of vertices, which is denoted by modulus of v, or we can write simply v here. So how many number of vertices are given? See, A, B, C, D, you can take this is E, F, G, H. So totally how many vertices are there? 8 vertices are there. These are the number of vertices of the given graph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Similarly, number of edges. How many number of edges? So let us 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and finally the loop edge. Totally 13 edges are there. And what is the number of faces? So to take the number of regions, how do we select the region is nothing but if you take this closed loop here, this particular region, whatever involved with these 3 edges is called a one region or one face of the given graph. Similarly, if you take this particular ring, this is called the second region. This is the region 2, and with this we can call this is the third region here, and here it is called the fourth region. This is like this. If you take A, D, F, B, A. The first region I am going to write here, just I am writing the first region, or we can call it as a first phase. F1 is equal to what? A, E, D, A. This is. Similarly, F2 is equal to A, D, A. F3 is equal to, we can write the third phase is E, F, okay, D, E. E, F, D, E. That is the third region or third phase. And fourth phase is equal to A, D, F, B, A. Like this we are going to take all the phases. So this is how we can. So in the similar way, this is what? R5. Okay. And it is a closed loop, therefore it is a R6. Totally 6. These are all called generally what? They are called interior regions or the interior phases of the given graph. With these interior phases, there is a outward region. That region is, outward region is, I am writing here outward region. So our outward phase is equal to F4. Let us take that is, I am going to take like this: A to E, E to F, F to G, G to H, H to C, like that. Again C to C and C to B. Again C. A to E you can take, E to F, F to G, G to H, and then what? H to C. Again C to C, C to H you can take. Again H to B and B to A. Like this we are going to get the outward region for the given graph. This is called the, so you have to take the number of interior regions and also you have to take exterior regions also. The exterior region is always equal to 1, but you have to calculate the number of regions. Exterior regions plus interior regions will give you what? The total number of regions of the graph. So totally how many regions are there? R1, R2, R3, R4, R5, R6, and then what? The exterior region is what? 7. So totally 7 is there. Totally 7 faces are there to the graph. Now you check V plus F is equal to how much? 8 plus 7 is equal to 15 and 13 plus 2 equal to 15. So therefore Euler's formula is verified for the given graph. This is how we can verify the Euler's formula. And by using this Euler's formula, if you know the number of vertices and the number of edges of the given graph, or any two of are given, you can easily calculate the third one from the given Euler's formula. So I hope it is clear how to get the regions of the given graph. The regions are the faces of the graphs can be obtained by the sum of exterior faces plus interior faces. Now coming to the second graph here, the similar way, but if you observe that the second graph is not a planar graph, and the most important part of the what this particular Euler's formula is, you need to check whether the given graph is a planar graph or not. In the previous case I didn't mention that, but it is clearly a planar graph. Why? Because as per the definition of the planar graph, the edges must not cross each other. Whenever the edges are going to cross each other in the given graph, such a graph is not a planar. So here no edge is crossing with the other edge, therefore it is not a this is a planar graph clearly. But coming to the case of here, the edge BD is crossing with what? Edge CB. Here this edge is crossing with this particular edge, whatever we are going to take, that edge is crossing with this edge, therefore it is not a planar graph. So if it is not a planar graph, you try to convert it into the planar graph. How do we convert it into the planar graph? The same graph which I am going to write, see here it is C, it is here it is D given, and here it is B given, and let us take this is what? A. Here it is the vertex what you can take as A. So I am going to take like this the graph, and I am going to join these two like this. I am going to join like this. In this case no edge is crossing with other edges, but if you write, instead of taking the edge like this, I am going to take the edge like this. So the same graph can be drawn like this also. Now in this case no edge is crossing with other edge, therefore that is a planar graph, but this is not a planar graph. So remember that in planar graph the edges should not be cross each other. If edges are crossing each other, it is not a planar graph. So to convert it into a planar graph, this edge, instead of drawing the edge like that, I am going to take the edge in this way. Now it becomes a planar graph. Now you need to check number of vertices, again same 4 vertices are given here. And what are the number of edges? Total number of edges are how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Totally 6 edges are given. And number of faces. So first take the interior faces. This is the first face, and this is the second face, and this is the third face, like that. And what is the exterior face? Only one exterior face will be given, A, B, F, D, like that you will get. So totally 4 faces are there. Now you have to check the given formula is correct. V plus F is equal to, so 4 plus 4 is equal to 8, and which is equal to E plus 2. 6 plus 2 is equal to 8. So this is how we are going to verify the Euler's formula for the given graph, which is very, very important formula, by which what will happen? You are going to get the number of vertices, number of faces, and number of edges by this formula. If any 2 of are given, then you can get the other one very easily. So the next topic is graph coloring. How do we get the graph coloring? So what do you mean by the graph coloring, which is very, very important in graph theory? So graph coloring is nothing but whenever you are considering a graph like this, suppose you can take a graph like this, this is a graph. The objective of this graph coloring is, what you need to do, you need to color the vertices in such a way that no 2 adjacent vertices must be having the same color. That is the meaning of a graph coloring. So no 2 edges must be having the same color while you are coloring the vertices of the graph. This is basic concept of the graph coloring. So what is the definition? So a graph is a n colorable. Here it is given that n colorable if it is having n number of vertices, or if you color with n colors. Sorry, if you colored with n vertices, then it is called n colors. It can be colored with n colors so that the adjacent vertices do not have the same color. That is what we discussed. The adjacent vertices must not have the same color. And what is the second important point here? Second point is the smallest possible number of colors need to color the vertices is called the chromatic number of the graph. This is very, very important definition. So what do you mean by a chromatic number of a graph? While you are going to color the graph, what you need to do? You need to color the vertices of the graph with minimum number of colors. Those minimum number of colors are called what? Chromatic number. So how do we get that? For example, if you find the chromatic number of the following graph. So first try to understand how to color this graph, with how many number of colors. What are the maximum number of colors, or what are the minimum number of colors to color this particular graph. So let us try to understand this. So here it is, suppose you are going to color this one with C1, the first vertex you are going to color with C1, then you should not color B and D with C1. Why? Because these two are the adjacent vertices of the given vertex A. Therefore, you should not color with C1 these two vertices. Then what you need to do, you have to color this one with some other color C2. Suppose I have colored with C2. If it is C2, then B and C must not have same color like what? C2. B should not have C2 and B should not have what? It should not be colored with what? C1, because it is adjacent to what? A. Similarly, it is adjacent to what? D. Therefore, you should not color like that. So you can color similar with other color C3. Now, because C is the adjacent to what? B, and C is adjacent to what? D. Therefore, what happened? You should not color this one with C3. You should not color this one with C4. So C2, sorry. Therefore, you can color with different colors. So maximum number of colors to color all the vertices in the graph are what? 4. So it is possible to optimize these number of colors in the given graph. Let us try to check. So even though you have colored with C1 this one, and C3 C2, you cannot change these colors. Why? Because B and D are adjacent to A, so they should be, and and D is adjacent to what? B, and B is adjacent to D. Therefore, these two are should have different colors. They should not have the same colors because they are adjacent to each other. But A and C are not adjacent to each other. So instead of taking the another color here, the same color whatever we have taken, that color should be filled with here of the given vertex C. Why? Because A and C are not what adjacents, and C1 is not, this B is not filled with C1, similarly D is not filled with C1. This is the one possible optimum case to fill with the given vertex with the color what? C1. Therefore, the minimum number of colors what we are going to take here 3. Otherwise, you have to check it is possible to color with only 2 vertices, 2 colors of the given graph or not. So here you cannot do like that. Why? Because A, B and D are what? Adjacent to what? A. If this particular edge will not be mentioned, then this color can be filled with this color. Why? Because even though B is adjacent to A, in that case B does not adjacent to what? D, if this particular edge will not be given to you. But here it is this edge is connected between B and D, therefore B is what? It is adjacent to D and D is adjacent to B, therefore they should have 2 different colors. So therefore the minimum number of colors here are 3. This is called the chromatic number of the given graph. This is how we can find. So while you are going to color the vertices of a graph, try to check that what are the possible minimum number of colors which we can fill with all the vertices of the given graph. That minimum number is called the chromatic number. So this is what another important, in another example here it is given that, now suppose if you fill with the color C1, then you need to go for what? You have to check what are the adjacent vertices. B is the adjacent vertex, E is the adjacent vertex, similarly D is the adjacent vertex. So you cannot fill with what? C1, B, E and D. So therefore it is not possible. But C is not what? Adjacent to what here? A. So therefore you can fill with this. This might be a case to fill C vertex with what? C1, because since C is not adjacent to A. Let us try to take like that. Now if you fill with C1 the vertex A, then you can go with what? C2 here. So because it is adjacent to A, so you cannot fill with C1, you can go with another color C2. Now let us take what are the adjacents of this particular vertex, C and what? A only, but C is adjacent, so you cannot fill C with what? C2. It is possible to fill with only C1 since C is not adjacent to A. Similarly, you can come to the case of D. What will happen here? Since D is the adjacent of C1 and D is the adjacent of C, therefore it is not possible to fill with C1, so you have to go with what? Another color. Either you can take C2 also. Instead of taking C3, you can take C2. Why? Because C2, D is not what? Adjacent to C2. Both are not connected. Therefore, still you can fill D with what? C2. Now coming to the case of E. E is adjacent to C1. So you cannot fill with what? C1 here. But you cannot fill with what? Here also C1. So therefore, you have to fill with this one is also with what? C2. Like this you can fill. So here this is color because B is not adjacent to E and D is also not adjacent to E. Therefore, you can fill with C2. Otherwise, you can take C1, C2, C3, C4, C5. Like that, we can take any number of colors. But you need to optimize the number of colors so that it is very good for the graph coloring. So it is not possible to take for every vertex will be. It is not the way of taking every vertex will be filled with what? Every different color. Like that, we can do any problem. But the case here and the important point is that with minimum possible colors, how you are going to fill the vertices of the given graph. So we can fill with what? 2. Therefore, the chromatic number here it is what? 2. In this case, the chromatic number it is 3. Like this, we are going to discuss about the chromatic number. The next topic and the last topic of this particular lecture is spanning trees. So what do you mean by a spanning trees? Till now we have discussed about graphs. What is the difference between graph and a tree? The main difference between the graph and tree is nothing but in graph you may have a loops or you may have a cycles, but coming to the case of tree you don't have any loops or any cycles. So what do you mean by a spanning tree? Let us try to understand the definition. So a spanning tree for a graph G is a subgraph. We defined what is a subgraph of G that contains all the vertices of G and is a tree. So spanning tree is a subgraph of the given graph. Not only that, it should contain all the vertices, whatever the vertices are given here. So contain all the vertices of G and it is a tree. It is a tree means it should not form any cycles. That is the meaning. That is the meaning of a tree here, that's why. But it should contain all the vertices of the given graph. So let us try to understand this. Or for a connected undirected graph, you know what do you mean by a connected graph? Every edge must be connected with what? Every vertex is connected with other vertices. So therefore, undirected graph Z, a spanning tree is a tree which consists of V comma E dash. See, the definition in mathematical way it is given. Here the graph is V consists of V number of vertices. In the similar way, the spanning tree must also contains the same number of vertices. You should not change the vertices, or you should not take less number of vertices like that. Whatever the number of vertices containing the given graph, in the spanning tree also it should contain the same number of vertices. But there is a difference between number of edges here and E here. So E and E dash, and that E dash must be subset to what? The given edge set. This is called a spanning tree. So every connected graph has a spanning tree. You can take a connected graph. Every connected graph has a spanning tree. A graph can have many spanning trees. See, remember that only one spanning tree will exist for a given graph. It is not correct. There exists many number of spanning trees for the given graph. We will look at into that. But all have what? These many number of vertices and these many number of. If a spanning tree consists of n number of vertices, then there must be n minus 1 edges. That is the meaning of this. Now coming to the case of this is the given graph. It is an connected and undirected graph. If you observe that every vertex is connected. So here with another vertex, it is not a complete graph, it is a connected graph. Remember that there is a difference between a complete graph and connected graph. In the complete graph, one vertex must be connected with all other vertices. It is not necessary in what? A connected graph. It is a connected graph simply. Now for this connected graph, how do we get the different spanning trees? So let us take the first one. This is the one spanning tree. So we'll discuss some of the algorithms how to get a spanning tree for the given graph. And if you observe that here in this particular graph, there are no cycles. Therefore, it is called a spanning tree of the given graph. Similarly, if you go through that one, that is the another spanning tree. For the same graph, there exists many number of spanning trees like this. But how do we get that spanning tree? So let us try to understand. So before going to understand that, you should know about what is the meaning of a minimum spanning tree. So given a connected undirected graph, a minimum spanning tree is a subgraph same such that what is the first condition here? The first condition is that the number of vertices in the given graph must be equal to the number of vertices in the minimum spanning tree. Second condition, there exists what? There exists a path from any vertex to any other one. There exists a path from one vertex to another vertex. The sum of the edge weights in E dash is minimized. The total sum of the edge weights, when you take a weighted graph means while you are connecting the edge between the two vertices, that edge is weighted with some value. Therefore, it is called a weighted graph. So the sum of the edge weights in E dash is minimized. So the total sum of the edges, finally whatever you are going to get in the tree, all that sum value, the values of each edge, if you add all these values, it should be minimized when you compare with the given tree. That's why it is called a minimum spanning tree. Why it is called a minimum spanning tree? Because the sum of the edge weights should be minimized. So how do we determine this given minimum spanning tree? How do we determine the minimum spanning tree for a given graph? What are the different types of algorithms which existing here? The first algorithm here it is Kruskal's algorithm. So this is the Kruskal's algorithm which is based on the edges. We are going to traverse the graph based on the edges and then we obtain the minimum spanning tree. The another algorithm is there, Prim's algorithm, based on the vertices we are going to traverse and then we'll get the minimum spanning tree. So let us try to quickly understand what are these two algorithms. So input the given connected weight graph Z with n vertices whose minimum spanning tree is T we want to find. So whatever the given graph is given, first you need to take what? The number of vertices of the given graph. That is what the input you have to take. That is what? Order all the edges of the graph Z according to the increased weights. So in a given graph with a particular weights, what you are going to do is, whatever the values are given according to the increasing order from a small value to bigger value, you have to order each and every edge of the given graph. Initialize T with all vertices but do not include an edge. What do you mean by this is, while you are taking the spanning tree, you need to connect you have to take the edges in such a way that, how do we take the edges? Initialize the given graph. First you have to initialize the given graph with all the vertices according to the increase order of the weights what we have taken in the step 2. We are going to take the edges and we are going to join them. So we will take that. Add each of the graphs Z in T which does not form a cycle until n-1 edges are added. These are the 4 steps which are very, very important to get a minimum spanning tree by using what? Kruskal's algorithm. So here, determine the minimum spanning tree for the following graph. This is the given graph. See, if you observe that each edge contains a particular value, therefore it is called a weighted graph. Now how do we get? So order all the edges. This is the first step. Initially, that is the graph is given, that is the first step. We have taken the graph, whatever the graph, and order all the edges of the graph Z according to the increased weights. So if you go through this particular graph, what is the minimum weight here? Here the minimum weight here it is 2. So the first one you will get it is BE, and after that 2 you will take DC or CD, and after 3 you have 4 AD and CF. Next one is what? EF, and then BC, and then what? AB, and then DE. Like that we are going to take the order. So you have to take the order of the edges in such a way that the weight should be in the increasing way. This is the way you have to take the order. So I have taken the order like this. Now initialize T with all vertices but do not include edge. Now once you are going to take the order of the edges in the increasing form, then the next step is to get a minimum spanning tree. First you have to start with what? You have to take all the vertices whatever it is given in the graph. Only take the vertices and do not take any edge between those vertices. So this is how many vertices are given? Totally 6 vertices are given. I have taken the 6 vertices like this. Now the next step here it is that what you need to do, add each of the graphs Z. How we are going to add each? According to the weights what we have taken in the previous case in the increasing form. So we are trying to add. So here first, because this particular edge which contains the minimum value V, first we try to add this edge BE. That is the first step. And second step is, once you complete this, then you have to add the edge what? DC, because it is 3. If there are too many 2 or 3 edges contain the same 3s, you can start with any one. No need of starting with like this only. So next you have to take what? The next edge what? 4. See here I am going to take the edges. See, this is I am going to explain like this so that you can understand. I am taking A, B. So let us try to take the form A, B, C, D, E, F. This is the way we have to take. Now let us take here A, B, C, D, E, F. So how do I join how do I take the wedges? First, what is the smallest weight edge here? It is BE. So first you have to connect it BE with a weight 2. And then what is CD? It is a weight of what? 3. So you have to take CD of weight 3. And AD, it is a weight of what? 4. So you have to take AD, it is a weight of 4. While you are joining the edges between the vertices, you always check that whether it forms a cycle or not. If it forms a cycle, remove that particular edge and go for the next edge. Similarly, CF, what is the weight of this particular? It is also 4. So it is this one, this one, this one, and this one. Next, what is BC? Let us take BC. What is the BC here? It is equal to 5. You can take BC or you can take EF. If you take EF now, what will happen here? It forms a cycle like that. So we cannot take this. Otherwise, if you take this, you cannot take BC. Any one of them you can take. EF or BC you can take. Why? Because if you take both, what will happen? It forms a cycle here. That is not the condition for minimum spanning tree. Therefore, we cannot take EF. AB. Now let us take AB. If you take AB here, what will happen here? Now A to B there is a path, B to C there is a path, and C to D there is a path, D to A there is a path. So you cannot take AB also. It forms a cycle. Similarly, what is DE? If you take like this, what will happen now? if you take like this DE with a wedge of what? 6, you check whether it forms a cycle or not. So it is not forming a cycle. So therefore we can take what? DE. So therefore it is a, we can take like that. Now AF, can we take AF? AF is equal to 7. So if you take like this, what will happen? You just check it whether it is forming a cycle or not. If it, see here, if you take like this, B to C, C to D, D to E, E to B, B to C. If you take this one, what will happen here? D to E, E to B, B to C, C to D. So it forms a cycle. So we cannot take this particular edge also. Sorry for that. So we cannot take this because it forms a cycle. Otherwise just go through. If you take DE, D to E, E to B, B to C, C to D, you will get again come back to what? D. It forms a cycle. So you cannot take. And now suppose if you take A to F, what will happen? If you take A to F here, I am writing if you take A to F, what will happen? Can we take it or not? So you just check it. So B to C, C to F, F to D, D to A to C, C to B. Again you are coming back to B by using the traversing the other paths. So you cannot take this particular also. Therefore you cannot take this. So what is the final one? A, B, C, D, E, F. What will happen now? This is, there is an edge for with this. Here you can take 5, here you can take 2, here you can take 4, and then you can take what? Here it is 3. So like this we will get a one spanning tree. Like that you can get any number of spanning trees for the given graph. So this is what the Kruskal's algorithm which I have given. This is the initialization step, and then you have to add first this edge and then go with this edge, and then what? You have to take C4. Previously I have taken what? AD I have taken first, and then I have taken C4. Here C4 has taken, and then you can take AD here, and finally you can take BC. Otherwise if you cannot take BC, you can take with what? E5. But according to the increasing form we can take the, therefore with these 5 steps we can get a minimum spanning tree by removing the other edges so that it will not form a cycle to the given graph. Now what is the total cost? The total cost is the sum of the what? Weights of all the given edges presented here. So this the sum of the weights. 4 plus 3, 7 plus 2, 9 plus 5, 14 plus 4, 18. The total cost, minimized cost, now it is 18. This is how we can get what? A minimum spanning tree by using the Kruskal's algorithm, and this Kruskal's algorithm is based on what? The number of edges. Now let us try to discuss another important algorithm which is Prim's algorithm. How do we get a minimum spanning tree by using this Prim's algorithm? So here the first step is you have to start with a vertex. There what? You have to initialize all the vertices and then start with what? A edge which contains the minimum weight and follow like that. But here you need to start with a vertex. Any vertex you can start. With any vertex you can start. Repeat steps 3 and 4 until there are fringe vertices. So we will discuss what is that. Select an edge E connecting the tree vertex and fringe vertex that has minimum weight. So once you are going to select a particular vertex, you can take any vertex like this. Now this is a vertex V2. Let us put in the fringe. Let us put in the fringe is what? Now V2. This is V2. What you need to do in the third step, select an edge E connecting the tree vertex and fringe vertex that has the minimum. So you have to take the adjacent vertex, whatever it is there, or suppose V3 is a adjacent vertex, you have to take this one. Now your fringe contains V2 and V3 like this. With a, because, and check that it may have V4, it may have, so like this V4 is the adjacent, it may have V5 is the adjacent. But if it is 2, if it is 1, if it is 3, then we can go with what? This particular edge. We cannot go with this edge and this edge. So like that. Once you can get this, now your fringe consists of V2 and V3. This is the next vertex. So you have to take the adjacent vertices of this one. Like that you have to follow in this algorithm. So quickly we can go through, add the selected edge and the vertex to the minimum spanning tree. Just now what I did in the fringe, what I did, first I have taken V2 and then I have taken V2, V3. Why? Because that edge has minimum value compared to the other edges, even though they are adjacent vertices, but this particular vertex, adjacent vertex which is connected with an edge, has the minimum value. And finally exit. Let us try to understand how do we get how do we get the minimum spanning tree for this algorithm quickly. So how do we get the minimum spanning tree for this algorithm for this given graph? So I am going to do here. So you can start with D. You can start with any vertex. You can start with B. Now what are the adjacent vertices of D? For D, B is the adjacent vertex. For D, C is the adjacent vertex. For D, E is the adjacent vertex. But of these three, these are the three adjacent vertices which are connected by these edges like this. One edge consists of 4 value, another edge 2, another edge 1. So which edge is containing the minimum value? This edge contains the minimum value. So now you have to take this is. Initially your fringe consists of what? We started with what? Vertex D. Now after taking the minimum edge, then your fringe consists of D and what? E. Now like this you are going to get, this is what? D and E. This is how you can get D and E. Now once you get D and E, this is the incident of what? The given vertex D. Therefore you need to take the adjacent vertices of E now. What are the adjacent vertices of E? This is the only adjacent vertex. We cannot take again D because you need to go with other vertices. So you have to go with what? C. So only one adjacent vertex is there. You have to take it obviously. This is what? C. Now you have to take D, E, another one D, E, and then what we got here? C. Now what is the adjacent vertices of C? B and A. So these are the two adjacent vertices. So what you can get now? You cannot go with 10. You can go with what? A. So like this you will go with A. So it consists of 3 now. So these are the what? Vertices we are going to get with this we are going to get when you start with the vertex what? D. Otherwise, what is the adjacent vertex of A? Is there any adjacent vertex of A? No, there are no adjacent vertices of A. Therefore, it is called the minimum spanning tree of the given graph, and it does not form any cycle. Like this you can go with, you can start with any vertex. So let us take, here it is started with vertex B. Initially it is started with vertex B. So this is the vertex B. So, and what are the adjacent vertices? This is the one adjacent vert, this is the another, 4 and 10. So obviously you can go with what? 4. So that's why this is now becomes a, this dotted line now becomes a like this dark line. Instead of dotted line we have taken a dark line here and it remains as a dotted line. Now what are the adjacents of D? For D, C and E are the adjacents, but instead of, we are not going to take this one, we are going to take what? 1. Okay. So what will happen here? Now we are going with what? E. So here it is E. This is what? That's why it becomes a dotted line here. Now you can take the adjacent of E. What you can get? What are the? So E to C is there. If you take E to C, what will happen? This forms a loop, therefore we cannot take this particular edge. That's why here the edge is not taken. And next one is what? A. Now this is what with, even though here it is 10 is there, if you go through the previous figure, it consists of the minimum edge, therefore it is taken. This is what? In the previous case what happened, this is the minimum spanning tree for the given graph. In the previous case what happened, when we started with D, so when we started with D, if you the minimum edge is, here it is E with a cost of E, and for this the minimum cost is C here, and for this you will get A. This is, now here you can get what? Vertex B. See, if you observe that this is the what? Spanning tree. In the previous case what we got like this, total number of edges 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, here totally 3 plus 3, 6 edges are there. We got here 3 edges only. So with this vertex, but this vertex is not connected with any other what? Vertices in the given graph. But if you start with B, what will happen? If you start with B, you will get a spanning tree like this. Therefore, for the given graph, there exist many spanning trees. It depends upon where you are going to start the vertex. So, determine the minimum spanning tree of this particular graph. Let us quickly go through this. So, first we will go with what? You can start, because it is the vertex which consists the minimum value. You can go with what? Otherwise, E, F. You can start with E, or you can start with what? F. You can start like this with vertex F. I am going to start with a vertex F here because it is the minimum edge. I am going to take F to E because it is the minimum edge. First I am starting with minimum edge. And then what are the adjacent vertices? F2E, F2C, DC, but I am going to take, here it is this one. Or I can, like this, I can go E to F, you can start with like this. Now for F, what are the adjacent vertices? C and I, but of these two, C, this particular edge consists of minimum. So therefore you can take C, you will get it is equal to 3. Now for C, what are the adjacent vertices? F and D, but this consists of what? B. So you will take what? Here it is 4. This is the vertex of B. Now coming to the B, A is the adjacent vertex, D is the adjacent vertex, E is the adjacent vertex, F is the adjacent vertex. But we cannot take these two, already we have taken. So therefore you have to go with either A or D. So you can go with what? A. You will get what? A, because which consists of minimum value compared to BD. Now with A, what you can get here? A to D, what you can get? So we are not, see here we are going with E. If you go with E here, what are the adjacent vertices here? B is there and H is there. So D is there and F is there. So we have taken only F. Therefore, now coming to the case of A, what are the adjacent vertices? B and D. So of these you have to go with what? D. You have to go with D, which consists of value 2. Now come to the case of E. For E, B, E, H, all are what? B, E, H, all are what? Adjacent vertices. For D, B, E, H, G, all are adjacent vertices. But even though it consists of the minimum value, if you take this, what will happen? If you take this, it forms a cycle. Therefore, you cannot take this one. In that case, the remaining edges are, this is the one edge, this is the another edge, this is the another edge, of which D to G, what happened? It is the minimum one compared to the remaining edges, so we will go with D to G. It becomes 6 now. Now coming to the G, what are the adjacent vertices? You have to go with only H, you cannot go with again D, because this is the only. So you have to go with what? H. What is that vertex? It is equal to 4. Now what are the adjacent vertices of H? For H, E is the adjacent vertex, F is the adjacent vertex, and D is the adjacent vertex. And these three already we have taken, no need to take, and the only remaining vertex is I. So you can go with what now? I. Like this you can get, this is the one spanning tree. So like this you can get different spanning trees for the given graph. This is not only one tree, you can go with another way of taking the vertex and trace the vertex, like that you will get it the another spanning tree. But while you are taking that, you always take only important point. With these edges there should not form any cycle. This is how we can take it. This is called a Prim's algorithm. Now important key points are here. If all the edge weights are distinct, then both the algorithms are guaranteed to find a same minimum, same MST. That means for a given graph, previously we have taken a graph. See here, if you observe that here what happened, 3 repeated twice, 4 repeated, 3 repeated 3 times, 4 repeated 2 times, and 5 repeated 2 times. Here, if the case is that if the edges whatever are given in the particular graph are all different, all edge values are different, then there is a possibility of what? Getting the same spanning trees, minimum spanning trees, by using Prim's algorithm as well as by using Kruskal's algorithm. That is the first point. And the second point is, if all edge weights are not distinct, in the previous case all are distinct, all are different, all edge values are different. If the second case not distinct, then both the algorithms may not always produce the same minimum spanning tree. And this is the, previously we have seen by using the Prim's algorithm what we got the spanning tree. If you go through the Kruskal algorithm, so what we got, let us try to check for this, because all the edge values are not distinct here. Therefore, you just go through it, what you can get here. So you have to go with first EF, this is the minimum edge, sorry, EF you have to take like this, and then what you can get, edge, you will get what, this is A to D, sorry, another edge is A to D, after that increasing order, or otherwise you can go with what, HI, and then next this is HI, which is also minimum value. With this we cannot form a cycle, therefore we can take it. Now you can go with what, 3, edge value is 3, after the 2, 3, this is B to D is there, you will take B here, if you take B to D like this, if you take 3, or otherwise you can go with what, C to F, you can take C to F, this is C, you can take 3 here, or otherwise E to H, you can take E to H, you can take 3. So with these also we cannot get any cycle, remember that. Now the next edge is what, force. So here you can take F to what, H. If you take F to H, there it will form a cycle, so we cannot take this particular edge. Similarly, F to I, if you take F to I, which consists of value 4, again it forms a cycle, therefore you cannot get like this. And similarly, now what is the another one, C to B. If you take C to B, it may not form a cycle, therefore we can take like this. But another value is there, G to H, you can go with G to what, H, like this you can go. Again it does not form any cycle. So we are going to take this one, and now if you take A to B here, A to B if you take, it forms a cycle, so we cannot take A to B. Similarly, B to E, if you take B to E, it does not form it will form a cycle, therefore we cannot take this one. Similarly, what is another phi? Is there any other phi edge, phi value with edge? No value. So now let us come to the case of 6, D to G. If you take D to Z, what will happen? It is a 6. So what happened here, if you take like this forms a cycle, so you cannot take this particular edge, this edge cannot be taken, so D to Z cannot be taken. Similarly, you can go with what, B to F. If you go with B to F, it forms a cycle, therefore we cannot take that. And finally 7 value, D to E. If you take D to E, still it forms a cycle, therefore you cannot take this also. You cannot take this one also. Finally what, 8 is there, D to H. If you take D to H, then what happens? Still it forms a cycle, because like this, if you go, this is a cycle, you can get like this, so you cannot take that one also. So finally we'll get like this. This is this is the spanning tree which we got by using Kruskal's algorithm. In the previous case, we got different spanning tree by using Prim's algorithm. So if the vertices, if the edge values or weights are all different, then we'll get different spanning trees. That is the important point here, it is given. So all are produced, may not always produce same spanning trees. So if all are same, all are distinct weights, then guaranteed it forms gives you a same minimum spanning tree. And however, cost of both the MST would always be same in both cases. That means in this case they may not produce the same spanning trees, but the total cost of the spanning tree obtained by the Kruskal algorithm, similarly obtained by the Prim's algorithm, will be the same. That is the statement here. With this, I am going to conclude my lecture. With this, the graph theory unit 5 is completed, And in this particular lecture, we started with what do you mean by the isomorphism of the graphs. Isomorphism means a graph will take different forms. So how do you check that the two graphs are isomorphic? They should follow some necessary and sufficient conditions which we discussed already. So even though necessary conditions are whole good, we cannot say that it is surely a isomorphic graphs, but at least one of the sufficient condition must satisfy, then only those graphs are isomorphic. And then we'll discuss about important formula like Euler's formula, which is a relation between number of vertices, number of edges, and number of regions of a given planar graph. If it is not a planar graph, you try to make it into planar and then check the Euler's formula. So another third important point is graph coloring. How do we color the vertices of the graph? With minimum number of colors, how do we color the vertices of the graph? If you take the minimum number of colors, that is called a chromatic number of a given graph. And finally, we discussed about what is a spanning tree and how do we obtain the minimum spanning tree, what are the different algorithms to find the minimum spanning tree, like Prim's and Kruskal's algorithm. Prim's algorithm based on what? It is there we are going to start with a vertex, and Kruskal's algorithm will take based on edges. So with this I am going to conclude this particular lecture and also conclude the unit 5. Thank you very much.